Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for details. Reviewing 8 watches in a row is just like fighting 8 guys at once. Your winning strategy, if there is one, is to go for the big one first and hope the rest fall. And that's exactly what I'm doing today with this Panerai Luminor 1950 Tourbillon Equation of Time L'Astronomo PAM 36500. It is a lot of watch. Originally launched in 2010, which was the 400th anniversary of important discoveries made by Galileo Galilei with his refracting telescope. This model is a giant in grade 5 titanium, 50 millimeters in diameter, 20.4 millimeters thick, and 61.2 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Officially, this watch is L'Astronomo Tribute to Galileo Galilei, and it says as much on the reverse side. The Italian astronomer and polymath lending his name to a watch likely beyond even his imagination. There's a lot going on. So we'll put the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and immediately you'll realize my wrist is too small. I'm going to go ahead and say you need at least an 18 centimeter circumference wrist to wear this thing without becoming a parody. I mean, this is a huge watch. You need to be an NBA basketball player, an NFL offensive lineman. You need to be big, beefy, and diesel, because on my wrist, average-sized male forearm, this thing is just gigantic. It will not fit underneath a cuff of any kind, especially the elaborate dress cuffs worn in the day of Galileo. And you can see from lug to lug, it has the wingspan of, well, frankly, it has a greater wingspan than an IWC Big Pilot's watch. So if you can wear that, you might not be able to wear this. Taking a look at the strap, you can see it's extremely dark blue, navy blue, monotone stitch, bolstering to add thickness, large rectangular scale alligator leather, semi-gloss on the bottom, calfskin. You can see this is a brand new Panerai factory strap. It's got that little 1970 OP Officine Panerai logo. And then there is a deployant clasp that is considerably more involved than what you get on a standard Panerai. So twin trigger, double folding, and you can see it is made of steel, while the remainder of the watch is made of titanium. Taking a quick look here, you can see it has a little curvature on the bottom to trace the arc of the wrist, so it is smartly designed. There's a lot going on the reverse side. You could see that many of the features of this watch, including the sky chart, as well as the equation of sunrise and sunset, these are geographically proximate. And the watch here was part of a series, the L'Astronomo PAM 36500, that was semi-bespoke or custom, which is why you won't find other examples of this watch with exactly the same dial. You could get tobacco brown, you could get a light color, you could get blue, you could get black, and of course the location, Terrebonne, a ski resort outside of Quebec in French Canada, was the home, or at least the spiritual focus, of the original owner of this watch. You can see the latitude and longitude on the reverse of the case. Could it in theory be recammed and reprogrammed for another location? Yes, but as with commemorative engravings on old pocket watches, I suggest you preserve the watch's history. All of the other features will function just fine. Taking a quick look at the dial side, you can appreciate that they didn't hold back. There are a lot of displays on this dial side, and even the dog fang style power reserve indicator and the month indicator at 3 o'clock are loomed. The watch includes the equation of sunrise and sunset. So basically it will give you the time that sun sets and the sun rises. Then we have an equation of time, which is not geographically proximate. It's the difference between mean time and true solar noon. So there's mean solar time. That's why every place in one time zone has the same theoretical noon, even though the sun isn't exactly overhead at the same time in every part of a time zone. True solar noon is that time when the sun is directly over your head, and the difference between clock time noon and true solar noon is going to be the equation of time. So you can see it varies generally between -15 and +15, though it can exceed that by some measure. 4 times a year, it will indicate 0 because mean and true solar noon coincide. Now, it also has a month indication. In order for the equation of time to be functioning correctly, the month indication has to suggest that the watch knows what month it is in the real world. We have a system that allows you to move the local hour hand, and this is great if you're traveling because the minute doesn't suffer, it doesn't move. The date will change forward or backward depending on which direction you're traveling. The watch does include a sandwich dial, so there is a blue stencil with the numerals and the indices on top of a fully loomed base. This is a long-running Panerai feature dating back to the combat watch era of the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm going to move the minute hand because what we have over at 9 o'clock is actually a coaxial display. On the bottom, you have a little 30-second moving index that jumps with the tourbillon. This watch features a tourbillon that makes a rotation every 30 seconds. Then on top of that, there is a 60-second running seconds hand, so you do have a proper seconds indication, in spite of the fact that the tourbillon, nicknamed the rotisserie, is not a standard 1-minute tourbillon. Now, what's interesting here is that if you just put the watch down on your dresser at night, you can see how the tourbillon is rotating so that the axis of the tourbillon experiences a full 360-degree rotation. So it's not simply rotating in the same plane as the dial of the watch, as so many wristwatch tourbillon regulators do. This one will actually cancel out the effect of gravity on timing while the watch is on your dresser at night. And that will work whether it's dial down or dial up. I don't often use focus here, the zoom focus system, because the resolution is bad, but it was demonstrative in that case. Now we have here a northern hemisphere sky chart that will show you what is over Terrebonne outside of Quebec, depending on the time and, of course, the time of year. So the way this works is that, I'll demonstrate this, you want to free up the mobile hour. And then as you move that mobile hour on the dial side, you can see how the sky chart progresses. And then we have a power reserve indicator on the reverse side. The watch is a manual wind, 96-hour power reserve. The beat rate is 28,800 vibrations per hour. And this Panerai exclusive caliber P2005/G for Galileo is a 46 joule movement with incredible depth. The watch is 100 meters water resistant, and as you can see, there is a little adjustment system here. If you wanted to decouple the sky chart from the hour hand, you can certainly do that. Taking a quick look at the lugs, you'll appreciate that they feature a quick release system. You press down this little relief trigger that's spring-loaded, then you push the bar that retains the strap straight through, so you don't need 2 screwdrivers. It's very easy to do, and you don't risk your talent with screwdrivers against the finish of the watch. It is grade 5 titanium, which means it is both lighter than steel and more scratch-resistant, and the watch has the device protecting the crown. Once more, a design icon. You know what this watch is, both make and model. Now, of course, the locking lever system also serves a practical purpose, as it allows you to easily manipulate the seconds, or I should say, the winding and setting of the watch. So as soon as I unlock the crown, I can wind the watch. I don't need to screw the crown out. The idea here is that it's easy to manipulate the crown when your hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved, and you don't have to thread through the sealing system for the crown. You just compress and decompress the seals. That helps to preserve the crown seals, and it helps to preserve the hermeticity of the watch. Plus, you get all aspect protection. A simple shouldered crown guard can still expose the crown to damage if it's hit in a perpendicular fashion. Here you have more protection than that. The watch is well loomed, and not as intuitively as you might imagine. Yes, there's a lot of lume on the dial side, but what really surprises me is, first, look carefully, and the sunrise sunset are loomed. Second, the power reserve indicator on the reverse side is loomed. You need a big wrist and a big budget for this watch, but keep in mind, this is not for the guy who collects custom knives and two-hand Basse Panerai watches from the pre-Richemont, pre-Vendôme era. This is for the guy who is shopping Urwerk, who's shopping Richard Mille, Grubel Forsey, MB&F, that kind of guy. preferably with a big budget and a big wrist. But keep in mind, if you were to approach the complexity of this watch in a Richard Mille, you would be handing over 7 figures worth of money to Mr. Mille. So there's definitely a value proposition here, as these ultra high-end Panerai watches sell at considerably less than what a comparably complicated Grubel or Richard Mille would be. And at the same time, these also sell used for a lot less than their new retail price, which for this watch would have been about $250,000 in today's money. So in a sense, a bargain, and undoubtedly one of the most complicated Panerai watches ever made. When it debuted back in 2010, L'Astronomo was the most complicated Panerai watch ever conceived. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.